He never argued, never begged, just handed her the divorce papers. She thought she was winning until the judge exposed his $47 million empire. Now she's watching the man she mocked walk out a legend. Sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's power. And he had it all along. Marcus Booker was never loud, never flashy, never one to need attention. A calm, observant black man in his late 30s. He taught middle school math on the south side of Atlanta and wore clean, ironed button-ups like they were a second skin. You could pass him on the street and think nothing of it. Just another quiet guy blending into the noise of the city. But inside that quiet was a man who saw everything. He'd married Candace 4 years earlier, back when life was simpler. They met at a community gala. Marcus was there volunteering, handing out free school supplies. Candace showed up with her girlfriends, all heels and glam and laughter, drinking rosé and talking loudly about escaping the struggle. She almost didn't speak to Marcus, until he mentioned he worked in education tech. "Oh, so you're in tech?" she asked, suddenly interested. "I teach, but I also write curriculum software," Marcus said. That was enough. They started dating. Candace wasn't cruel, not at first. She was beautiful, driven, always thinking about her next step. But somewhere between their wedding and their 3rd anniversary, her tone changed. She started rolling her eyes when he came home tired. She called him small time in arguments. She'd dismiss his work with casual jabs. "You're just a teacher, Marcus. You don't know what it's like out here with people who actually make money." Marcus never raised his voice. He just kept working. Every night after grading papers, Marcus stayed up until 2 a.m., building something no one knew about, not even Candace. An app called ScholarCore, designed to help overworked teachers automate lesson planning, generate quizzes, and align content to changing state standards. He partnered with other Black educators across the country, launched a beta quietly, and began rolling it out to struggling schools for free. Within 2 years, 3 major districts had signed licensing deals. Candace never asked what he was doing. She was too busy chasing status, brunch photos, sponsored makeup tutorials, gym selfies with designer logos carefully angled. She'd gone from humble to high maintenance, without Marcus even noticing when the shift had happened. Her friends called him the quiet one, or the guy with no drip. She didn't care what he built. She didn't ask about the long nights, the quiet tension under his eyes. She just assumed he wasn't dreaming big enough. To her, ambition looked like tailored suits and imported champagne, not sweatpants and wireframes at 2 a.m. Then one night it all changed. Marcus found a receipt from the Langham Hotel in Chicago in her gym bag. He wasn't suspicious, until he read the name on the booking. Not hers, not even a friend's, a man's name. There was no confrontation, no shouting, no scene. Marcus just folded the receipt, put it in his drawer, and called a lawyer the next morning. The courtroom was cold, brighter than Marcus expected, with polished wooden benches and a judge, who looked like he'd rather be somewhere else. Candace entered like she owned the place, wearing red-bottom heels and a beige trench coat that screamed luxury. She strutted down the aisle with her lawyer in tow, not sparing Marcus a glance. Her long acrylic nails clicked against the metal table as she pulled out her phone, checked her reflection and smirked. Marcus sat in silence, dressed in the same navy blue sweater he wore at their wedding rehearsal. His lawyer, a calm and sharp black woman named Denise Riley, gave him a quick nod. "She thinks you're still broke," she whispered. "I know," Marcus replied, his voice even. Candace's lawyer opened with confidence. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case. No shared children, no joint properties, no mutual investments. Mrs. Booker is waiving all financial claims in accordance with the prenup signed before the marriage." The judge, an older man with tired eyes, leaned back in his chair and laced his fingers. "I understand. However, we still require financial disclosures on the record. For transparency, Mr. Booker's documents were submitted. I'll read them into the record." Candace rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. She looked over at Marcus with a smirk, her body language dripping with condescension. The judge adjusted his glasses. "According to Mr. Booker's financial disclosure," he began, "he is sole owner and founder of ScholarCore Incorporated, a private education technology company currently licensed in 12 states. ScholarCore provides educational automation tools for school districts and currently services over 1,200 schools nationwide. Candace's brow furrowed slightly. Valuation of ScholarCore, following the last audit by Pearson Ventures, is estimated at $31.2 million. Mr. Booker also holds majority shares in two acquired startups, with combined cash reserves of $9.3 million, in addition to his personal investments and a separate trust fund set up for future philanthropic efforts, totaling $3.5 million. Silence. Candace blinked like she'd been slapped. Her lawyer sat frozen. The room felt suddenly heavier. I don't understand, she whispered. The judge continued, all assets fall under Mr. Booker's name exclusively. Mrs. Booker waived all rights to shared assets under the prenuptial agreement signed on July 19, 2020. That waiver was reaffirmed in these proceedings. Candace's mouth dropped open. I thought he was just a teacher, she blurted out, too stunned to stop herself. Marcus looked at her for the first time since entering the courtroom. Not with malice, not with triumph, just calm. Still, like a man who no longer had anything to prove. The judge peered over his glasses. Is there a problem, Mrs. Booker? I didn't know, she stammered. He never told me he owned all that. He never said anything. That's not grounds for contesting a prenup, her lawyer muttered, defeated. Marcus's lawyer leaned toward him. We're good. You're free. Candace stood abruptly, knocking over her chair. Marcus, wait. Can we talk? She pleaded. In private? Her voice cracked. You never told me. He rose slowly, buttoned his coat, and nodded to the judge. No further comments, Your Honor. He walked past her without a word. Candace reached out but stopped herself, because it was already too late. The ink was dry. The signature she'd scribbled with a smirk just sealed her fate, a fate she laughed her way into. Outside the courthouse, the air was crisp, the kind that made you feel awake down to your bones. Marcus stood at the top of the courthouse steps for a moment, just breathing. He looked out at the city skyline, the same skyline he used to sketch on napkins during after-school tutoring shifts, back when he worked 2 jobs and slept 4 hours a night. Now, that same skyline was home to dozens of schools powered by his platform. He wasn't angry, not even satisfied, just settled. He'd kept quiet for years, let Candace believe what she wanted to believe. Let her think she'd married down. Let her post her pictures with real estate agents, doctors, and CEOs at dinner parties. Never once realizing the man she ignored at home was signing deals with the school, boards funding their kids' futures. He didn't need validation. But truth had its day. Candace remained inside the courtroom, still seated, staring at the spot where Marcus had been moments before. Her mind replayed everything she missed. His late nights on Zoom, the hush-hush trips out of state, the software code scribbled on sticky notes, the day she saw a district letter in his inbox and assumed it was just teacher stuff. She had mocked his discipline. Now she envied his empire. But envy didn't buy her a second chance. At ScholarCore headquarters that afternoon, Marcus was greeted with applause by the team, mostly young black and brown educators and coders, people who'd been underestimated their whole lives. They didn't see him as some overnight success. They knew the grind. They'd been in the trenches with him. And when he walked in, calm and humble, one of the interns whispered, "That man just beat the system." But Marcus didn't see it that way. He sat at his desk, opened his laptop, and pulled up the company's mentorship dashboard. A dozen new applicants from underserved districts waited to be approved. He smiled. This was the real win. Giving a kid with no connections the shot no one ever gave him. Candace, meanwhile, returned home alone. To an apartment Marcus paid for. To a lifestyle built on the quiet sacrifices of a man she'd never really known. Her social media remained active. Filtered smiles, captioned brunches, thirst-trap selfies. But the comments were dwindling. The same friends who cheered her on had started to whisper. Because everyone saw the headline now. Black tech founder's net worth revealed in divorce court shock. And people put 2 and 2 together. They saw the clips. They saw the way she laughed. And they judged. She tried texting Marcus once. Just a simple, "Hey." He didn't reply. She wasn't blocked. She was simply irrelevant. And that was worse. This wasn't just about money. It was about how society ignores quiet power when it's wrapped in black skin and humility. Marcus had never been flashy. He never needed to be. He wore the same clothes, drove a practical car, and spent his energy building something lasting. Not for likes, not for status, but for legacy. And Candace? She became a symbol of those who overlook, of those who chase image over substance. She married a man with gold in his hands, and eyes locked on the future, and she thought he was poor because he didn't show off. But he never needed to show her. She was never looking. And now, she'd spend a lifetime remembering the moment she laughed, while signing away a fortune. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit like and comment your city below. Tell us, how many people do you know who've been underestimated until the truth came out?